Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon for maybe some people, and warmly welcome to this webinar from us at Coventya. This is the first of a mini-series of 4 webinars related to aluminum surface treatment. My name is Per Alsen, and I'm working for Coventya as the International Product Manager for Aluminum Surface Treatment Chemicals, and I will be your host today. In some minutes, I will hand over to our presenter of today, Dr. Jan Akil, who will present our general AST portfolio. But before that, I just would like to briefly introduce you to Coventya, and also for your information, there is a possibility to ask questions in the toolbar to your right-hand side. We will try to answer your questions after the presentation, depending on how much time we have. Otherwise, we can also answer you in writing after the webinar. Coventya has a long history that dates back to 1927, almost 100 years. However, the name Coventya was born in year 2000 when the company was created through an acquisition from a former owner structure. And the growth strategy of Coventya have always been in strategic add-ons, both in terms of geography, but also technology, finding synergy effects. And one rather recent event was the acquisition of Polytechnic in Turkey 4 years ago, where Coventya took a large strategic step into a complete harmonized range of aluminum surface treatment product catalog. Our activity is related to a large variety of markets and business. Almost every application of metals of parts or end user products needs some surface treatment. It could be corrosion performance, aesthetics, appearance, functionality, such as wear resistance, conductivity, etc. Therefore, our activities serves an important role in the whole manufacturing chain. Another view here is also the different product segments for how we divide our activity in different segments of the market. And from our different market segments, the automotive segment is one key industry where Coventya pays a certain attention, not only due to the complexity of a car, but it's also one of the largest markets for the manufacturing industry, and surface treatment plays a key role in several different aspects, as mentioned before, everything from corrosion protection, aesthetics, and functionality. One reasoning behind Coventya's strategic approach into AST, aluminum surface treatment, can also be explained by the development of the e-mobility. One large challenge in e-mobility is the electrical storage in batteries and the actual weight of batteries. This weight needs to be compensated in the rest of the construction of a car to overcome challenges in range and performance. Such compensation is sure to be accomplished by further increase of the use of lightweight materials, such as, for example, aluminum or magnesium or carbon fiber. And this is just one example of the strategic fit. Another strategic fit for is in the direction of lightweight materials is, for example, sustainability and the great possibility and opportunity to reuse aluminum. So much for the general introduction of Coventya as a company. I would now like to warmly welcome Dr. Jan Akil as our presenter of today. He will present our product range in AST. Dr. Akil is a PhD in electrochemistry and has a very long experience in aluminum surface treatment as an expert both in research and development and also application technology. He's currently running our Turkish operation as the managing director. So please, John.
Thank you, Per, for this nice introduction and very detailed company description. And first of all, I would also like to welcome you to our webinar series. We will start today with the relatively short introduction of the general overview of our portfolio, what type of products we can provide, and what type of solutions we can provide for different industries. And then we will have individual, more focused sessions, which will be also presented by different members, including Mr. Alsen of our so-called the AST team. AST is a short abbreviation of aluminum surface treatment. And furthermore, I would like to also thank you to taking the time, being interested, and attending this seminar, especially in these difficult times. I would preferably be in front of you and do this either person to person or in a maybe seminar, but due to these difficult times with COVID, which seems to be coming to an end, hopefully with the vaccinations, it's even difficult to make these type of training sessions or webinars. But at least we have this technology that we can still maintain some sort of connection with one another. Okay, Per has really nicely described the idea behind Coventya acquiring Polytechnic, and also the information about the company or the global company holding that Coventya is, which is, I believe, the third largest chemical manufacturer and solution partner in plating industry. So if we, maybe because of also today's topic, which is the main AST, talk about a little bit more about Polytechnic and where we were coming from. Is Polytechnic was founded in 1985, and the core business was developing, manufacturing, and providing chemical solutions for anodizing and also for pre-treatment chemicals applied prior to the powder paint. Located in Tuzla, having a manufacturing, R&D, and also pilot plant capabilities. So we have been, as maybe looking back 4 or 5 years ago, the main or the core business focus was only on or mainly on architectural side, whereas after acquired by Coventya, we have not shift our focus, but maybe it will be a better explanation. We have broadened our range of projects and applications, starting with automotive, aerospace, and also in appliance industry. And we also not only extended our, as Coventya, extended our interest fields or fields in which we were engaged in, but also we have extended our reaches where we get memberships from individual countries where like ADA in France, or AITAL in Italy, or VAE in Germany, so that we are also taking part in the quality certification in order to be able to provide our customers that are certified by these authorities the right chemistries for anodizing and also chemical conversion coatings. So, and part of our core business, we are also providing solutions regarding engineering and consultancy where it is needed by our customers if they're having also problems. So, and once the products are produced and manufactured, one of the key things to be a part of the global Coventya group is also using this extensive footprint and provide these chemical solutions with local manufacturing to almost every corner of the earth with the same quality. As you can see, all of our group members are certified by ISO 9001 and also IATF 16949 to ensure that the quality of the products that have been provided to or supplied to our customers are within the same level and they fulfill all the requirements. And we significantly reduce the risks, which is a very important subject today regarding supply chain, because we are utilizing many production sites distributed all around the world. Okay, now we have the history of the company and the sources of the technology covered, including the supply chain, which is one of the most important parts, but we could continue with a little bit more on the technical part before we introduce the chemicals more intensely. And here you can see a brief summary of aluminum, which is actually so preferred, especially by the automotive industry, which has really desirable properties like high strength, low weight, which then it is soft, ductile, malleable, and also weldable. And these are very desirable properties, and aluminum is actually called the metal of the future, which was told in 1980s, and we are approaching that future, I believe, in order to have a higher sustainability. But not everything about aluminum is perfect. That means, unfortunately, aluminum, due to its amphoteric nature, is subject to maybe not corrosion in terms of similar to iron, but you could say that it gets stained, or you could compare this to a pitting corrosion. So therefore, the surface protection is needed for aluminum to be applied in open atmosphere application. So there are two big groups of surface protection that are currently applied to aluminum. The first one is called the anodizing process, and it is based on creating a thicker oxide film on the aluminum surface. And there you see that we provide all the chemistries that we are going to also review in this presentation that are related to this process chart, where it starts with obviously with cleaning and then goes according to the needs of the customer, either an acidic etching or alkaline etching. If need be, it could be in brightening, then generally followed by anodization or desmutting phase, and then finally doing anodizing, coloring or no coloring, and ending the process with sealing. So we do have all the chemicals one could need in order to fulfill its anodizing operation, whether it be a functional part for industry applications, or it's an architectural part where the aesthetics are overweighing the functional means. Or the second big family of surface protection for aluminum is powder coating. And in order to be able to apply a successful powder coating operation or powder coat, you have to have first a intermediate conversion coating on the surface that would reduce corrosion, but also increase the adhesion. So there are several ways to do it, starting from acidic cycle to alkaline and long cycle, ending with conversion coatings, starting with classical Chrome 6, which are currently on the way out due to their hazardous nature. Also providing Chrome 3 solutions or Chrome 3 solutions for our customers according to their needs. So as you can see, currently as Coventya, we can provide over 150 products related to aluminum, which are almost tailor-made for each application and each alloy to overcome the difficulties of our customers in their operation and hence their productivity and reproducibility. Okay, let's start with anodizing side. We briefly mentioned, but textbook definition of anodizing is drawing or converting or making the inherent oxide film, which is present on the surface, by applying an anodic polarization on the surface into a porous, transparent, nanostructured media, as you can see here. And this structure is actually one of the hardest material in the world, and making it transparent is actually providing the surface or converting the surface better expressed, to a much more durable form, where you would get attributes, properties like it is obviously glass-like, but because it is glass-like, you still will be able to see the underlying metal. So that gives you the metallic appearance, which is very hard to find with other organic-based top coats. And because it is extremely hard, you get an enormous wear resistance that can be integrated into both sections, functional and also aesthetical look. But for me, I would say the best property, because it is a part of the material and it's not a plating, especially it's a conversion coating where we are converting the aluminum to aluminum oxide. It does not chip or peel or possible to take off from the surface by physical means. Therefore, it is a very durable coating that is on many of the building facades over many years that you can literally see withstanding still the atmospheric conditions. And if we look closely to the anodizing in terms of the process or electrolytic process, it's a fairly easy process where the parts are put to the system as anodes, and it has been patented in 1911. And literally, you could be able to do it in a small bucket with a car battery. Well, I know that many of you are engaged or have experience with anodizing. And as long as I say this, I see or I feel even that you're getting very skeptical, and that's rightfully so. When we actually look to the real life examples, the process looks actually a lot complicated, and you often realize that it is a very process or parameter dependent process. And this is very important to note, because as you can see here, all these processes prior or after the anodizing, they have also parameters influencing their performance. And because these processes are precursors of one another, it's not like each one of them has 10 parameters you should control, and you have at the end of the day 50 parameters. But it's like, because they work in combination, it's like 10 over 10 parameters that you have to control. So going back, when I say it's a fairly easy process, but it's more accurate to say there is about 1 million things that could go wrong with this process, which is actually through with the industrial application. So therefore, in order to get the right properties that you're desiring, like corrosion resistance, hardness, wear resistance, thickness, which are basically a function of those pores structure and how it is distributed or grown on the surface, one should be very carefully control these parameters and adjust the surface as need be in order to have the right performance from this coating zone, so you might say. So, and if you go online and Google anodizing, you end up with these pictures of beautifully structured honeycomb-like layer structure, but these are possible to obtain under very specific circumstances, which means in a small beaker on a very pure aluminum. And in generally speaking, in normal life, you end up with a more chaotic layer like this, where problems occur also due to this inhomogeneity, like seal quality, hardness, or even the color. So therefore, it is very important to control the process, because in real life, like we have shortly mentioned, we do not have pure aluminum because of physical strength needs. In general cases, we do have alloys, which are the primary source of these defects. So it will be very important for us to control and also adjust the surface accordingly if we want to have, or if we are achieving successful results or a higher productivity from our operation. So as Coventya, what we like to hear emphasize is that anodizing is not just related to the chemistry. And we like to use the acronym or use this schematic look of wireframe, where you have on one side your substrate, and then you have the parameters and your total process in order to get to the right oxide layer, as it is possible to see here. But in essence, one of the biggest contributors here to our process is the effect of the substrate, as we briefly mentioned, which is generally governed by the alloying element. So this is a principle that we have started to take from plating, is that we are not just looking or concentrating on individual processes, but the general sum of this process, where we are not using the pre-treatment, or we are not using our chemistries or supplying our chemistries, not to just adjust the surface in aesthetical means, meaning adjusting the surface gloss, but rather than adjusting the substrate, which enables our customers to have a much suitable base material, much suitable substrate for the subsequent operations, where they can adjust the electrolyte parameters and get a good anodizing or color and even the seal. So when we look at our portfolio, in order to maintain this good quality and high productivity with low scrap ratio, we should obviously start with the cleaners range. And I would say maybe cleaners are among the 150 products that we are supplying, the second largest group that we are supplying, because they're mainly adjusted not only by the needs of the customers, but sometimes they're also adjusted by the limitations of the line that they have, or even the environmental factors, or the cutting or mechanical tools that they're applying to surface. But I put here two of the exemplary ones, but the subject will be more intensely discussed by Mr. Alsen on the 12th of May during our second webinar of the series, which is based on pre-treatment, where we will extensively talk about cleaning and, more importantly, about etching. But here you have our one of our new cleaners, that is the ALUMINIUM TREAT 180. This is specifically designed for bright profiles that are mechanically polished or chemically polished. And this product is very good with, especially with automated lines, where the profiles need to spend a longer time than needed in this cleaner, where even extensive times like 15-20 minutes do not cause any etching or discoloration on the surface of the parts. And these are completely biodegradable and high temperature use allowed chemicals, where the cleaning action is very good compared to the other chemistries that are currently on the market. And the second one is, because we also touch base with the difficult alloys or even secondary aluminum alloys, the Castle Preparation 190 is a specifically designed chemistry that we are using for cast aluminum parts that are generally porous, and they have a lot of organic burned oils on the surface coming from the casting process. And it's an extremely durable and good chemistry in order to remove those residue components from the surface, in order to enable you to proceed with your successful operation. So when we are talking about adjusting or optimizing the surface, one other option is to brighten the surface for either semi-bright or to get a mirror shiny look. Here, obviously, we are providing the classical chemistries like nitric acid containing brightening agent, the ALUMINIUM Bright 330, or electrolytic brightening agents which are nitric acid free, the 335. But also we have, which has ended about maybe 6-8 months ago, a new series of chemistry that are providing almost 50% higher gloss values than a classical semi-bright, which are nitric acid free, and they're giving, you can see from the part below, that they are, especially on smaller and round parts, they do provide an extremely high gloss, up to 900, and that is actually comparable especially after anodizing, with parts that are polished with nitric acid, which are not subject to mechanical polishing prior. So this is a very interesting chemistry, and we are also thinking about maybe applying a patent for it. So that's one of the things that we will be rolling out, and even have another mini series about in the coming days to give you more in-depth information about this. Okay, the other alternative prior to the anodizing was obviously, in order to get a matte finish, was etching. And we have two big families about etching. One of them is the acidic etching. Well, we are calling the acidic etching, but the abbreviation, the CFM, is actually caustic free matte. And the pH of the bath is not very acidic. So, and this chemistry is one of the key elements for a successful aesthetical look, especially on different alloys based on their components or on their constituents. And this subject will be again at 12th of May covered extensively in our special webinar series by Mr. Alson, where currently we are also combining the acid etch with a post-caustic etch step. And this gives us the opportunity have, if we wanted to, a very low gloss up to 4 surface appearance without streak marking, which is an extremely useful tool to do it. Or even in today's day, which we will be focusing on more extensively, is that because caustic etch, the classical ESEF, is very dependent on the alloying element and their distribution, it is an issue to use secondary aluminum, whereas with this acidic cycle priorly and their combination, one could be able to utilize many different alloys and even secondary aluminum without having a fallback or drawback in terms of aesthetical performance. Then we have our classical E6 alkaline edge additives 232 and 235, which have extremely high tolerance for zinc, but also their rinsing performance or draining or viscosity versus the dissolved aluminum performance is extremely well balanced, and they're also used for automated lines. Therefore, we can provide, again, for etching applications, all sort of chemistries that are needed for various type of applications, starting from small job shops, ending up with automated architecturally integrated plants. Okay, now my favorite group, among 150, maybe we have 40 products that are related to desmutting or neutralization. And the reason is there are many customers that we are giving service, and they are not only bound by the limitations of their line, let's say the number of rinsing baths, but also they are restricted by environmental conditions, which are getting tighter and tighter every day. So therefore, we are literally tailor designing these products according to the needs of our customers, and then supplying them accordingly to fulfill the needs that they have. So here, there are several products we could actually talk, but I summarized them in 3 major groups. The first group is the 444 group, which is heavy metal free and based on peroxide, that gives you the possibility to not even rinse or use a rinse after desmutting, and it is a great tool to lower the load on the wastewater treatment. Then we have the group that contains heavy metals, and they are compatible with nitric acid or sulfuric acid, and their basic main advantage is that they're very low consumption, and they're technically the best working solution when you compare price versus performance. And then we have the 409 or 411 series, where they are one-pack products, and they are specifically designed for more complex alloys that create a more resilient smut on the surface. Therefore, these chemistries are specifically designed for this purpose in order to fight and remove these smuts from the surface. After that, we do have the anodizing additive, our LOX 557, which we held a webinar on, and you could find its video on YouTube regarding if you need more details about it. But it's a very good chemistry in order to enhance your productivity if need be, or give you a wider range of parameters and even prevent the fluctuations in your let's say, coloring or anodizing performance by giving you a broader operation window. And if need be, the process can be adjusted to give you a more glossy surface, so more transparent oxide layer, or to provide you a harder layer that can be achieved at even elevated temperatures like 10, 15 degrees Celsius. So it gives you a much more robust process, which is easier to control, and hence, therefore, or enable you, therefore, to provide or apply higher current densities, higher sulfuric acid levels, higher temperatures that would help you with your production by preventing any burning of the layer. And we also, I would like to also inform that we have applied for qualicode application for this chemistry, certification for this chemistry. But the problem is, although we have had the first positive results, due to the COVID, the free weathering tests are currently a little delayed, but hopefully they will be with us in the first coming months. Okay, then after anodizing, the option was using electrocoloring additives. And here we have three major groups. The coloring agent based on tin, the coloring agents based on nickel, and then we have two subgroups, the coloring agent based on iron and also based on copper. So I took these two, but we are going to also have another mini webinar that will be done on the 27th of May. That will be presented by Ms. Afsin. She is the executive of our R&D in Turkey, and she will be presenting you extensively about what could go wrong in the coloring and what can we provide as solution in order to give you a higher productivity rate. And if we can return, or if we return to these both products, the first one is a one-pack tin-based electrocoloring product, which gives you a higher color stability and also provides or produces less sludge with a higher efficiency. And because we are one of the largest tin sulfate manufacturers in the world under one roof, to say, so we have a extremely tight control of our products, where we are producing our own raw material, starting from metal with electrochemical methods in a totally or completely automated line, which needs only manipulation half a day per week. Then we have the secondary big group of our electrochemical or electrolytic coloring additives, which are the stainless steel look or the nickel-based colorings. With these groups, it is not possible to achieve deep black or dark bronze, but they're extremely easy or well controlled for lighter shades, starting from stainless steel color, ending with dark champagne. And because of their excellent control and high reproducibility rate due to their lower precipitation ratio, they give a very long service life. Plus, they do, compared to the tin-based coloring with champagne, they give you a much less scrap ratio, hence improving your productivity and lowering your costs. Then we have the second group of our coloring agents, which are the immersion coloring, where we are not applying any current. And here there are two major groups. Again, this will be more extensively introduced by Ms. Afsin, Pınar Afsin, on the 27th of May in the webinar regarding coloring. The first group that we will be mentioning are the Aluminium Gold series, which is basically iron-based chemistry that provides you the gold colors. And this chemistry, again, even the raw material is synthesized by us, has excellent color stability in terms of UV and color distribution, but also excellent process control and efficiency. especially compared to some powder products that are currently out there. And finally, we do have, I just put one example of our organic dyes, where we had the aluminum black, which is the mostly sold component, the 823, where we can provide a higher productivity or high productivity deep black color and long service life, especially with bactericide additives that are also available from our portfolio. So you could also use, or our customers can find our or benefit from our global network or global footprint in order to obtain the right product according to their needs. So when we come to the last section or segment of our anodizing process or portfolio, which I would say are the third largest group, if not the second. So they would be comparable with the numbers of the cleaners that we do have, are the sealings. And sealing is as the last step of anodizing. I could or do like to use the analogy of football is like the goalkeeper, where all the corrosion, almost all the corrosion attributes, or even the touch, is related to this process. And here we will also have a webinar at the 10th of June, where we are going to present you our broad variety of chemicals, starting with hot sealing, medium temperature sealing, or even cold sealing, where, as you can see here, we have one component powder products, 967, going with two component products for cold sealing, which are extremely durable in terms of pH, enables you a more smooth operation. And because there are two components, basically, it is possible to adjust the sealing speed and also performance. Whereas on the hot sealing media, especially a new product that we have developed, the 907 in our lab, is currently rolled out and has great success, and it does provide a unique solution to especially electrocolored and black samples which have the tendency to have a velvet-like feel or appearance on the surface, and they still provide a very good ADT result. Then we have obviously the nickel-based classical nickel medium temperature sealing with a longer service life and even possible to use with no filtration. And finally, our no heavy metal containing nickel-free colon approved medium temperature sealing are also available, and they are in the market. So when we switch to conversion coating, is obviously powder coating is very popular even today's, especially today's world, application for surface protection for aluminum. But the problem with powder coating is, because it's a foreign material that is applied on the surface of the aluminum, it is subject to filiform corrosion, where, as you can see here, due to the presence of their metallics and aggressive ions, these filament-like corrosion products, they do creep up or creep underneath the paint and give you a failure. In order to correct this situation and give the paint a much more suitable ground in terms of roughness, in terms of cleanliness, and in terms of chemical compatibility, we are using the pre-treatment, where we are using degreasing and also a conversion coating, which could be based to a classical chromating, which obviously gives very good results, but also gives, we do have titanium, zirconium, and even special anodizing applications that are applied underneath the paint in order to improve the adhesion and also the corrosion performances, especially in marine applications. As you can see here, there are a variety of options that you can follow, starting with acidic degreasing, etching, or alkaline degreasing and etching, followed by deoxidizing, and then finally you can apply chromating, chrome-free or chrome-free applications, which makes your surface ready for the paint. So when we look more closely to our range, like we have mentioned before, we have cleaners, alkaline cleaners that are etching or no etching, that are titration-wise analyzable, and they are compatible with overflow methods or dipping or spray and even ultrasonic applications. So the second group, the reason why these deoxidizer or chemical etching or acidic etchings are a big group is network problems, very popular in today's world. So is that we have several products that have nitric HF-free versions or HF containing 1-pack or 2-pack products that do have a higher aluminum tolerance, ending up with a variety of chemicals that are suitable for horizontal or vertical, even spray applications. Finally, one of the most expensive groups that we are providing is the conversion code, chrome-free conversion coating, which you see two qualicode approved versions, 701 and 703. But we also have a big group that provides bare corrosion resistance of the surface, which are based on chrome-free technologies. You can see here, lantane 613.3 is widely used in aerospace and automotive industry, and not only in architectural branch. So if we summarize what our capabilities and the products that we can provide is, we have an extensive portfolio of chemicals that are available all over the world for the needs of our customers. And you can see from alkaline degreasing to brightening to desmutting or to sealing, we can provide several options to create the surface that is required by the end customer. And finally, also to be used under paint as conversion coating and conversion coating pre-treatment, we can provide you with acidic cycles, alkaline, acidic, or combined cycles, even for maritime applications, and also even on cast aluminum alloys, which are especially hard to provide a good corrosion resistance. And we are aware that this is very important, that we keep in mind that we are not just a chemical supplier. And the chemistries that we are supplying are not just used to etch the surface, but they are also used to improve the performance, but also ensure the successful results for anodizing or for powder coating. Because we know that during a production, I mean, anodizing, as we briefly mentioned, is not the hardest process in the world. But because it is so parameter dependent, and because the sheer size of the surface or the aluminum that is processed throughout a anodized line per day is immense. So therefore, it's like a big container ship, which we had an accident in currently, which blocked world trade. But as you can see here, these big operations, they need to run smoothly. Because there are so many parameters affecting, we also provide our chemistries in order to enlarge and secure the optimum parameter window, which the fluctuations of quality are minimal. And finally, we are not only selecting these products and ensuring the quality at our customer side, but we are ensuring that we can deliver the same quality product all over the world by using our global footprint, and we make sure that the products that are delivered are up to the qualicode and qualinode standards by using or by managing our risks, to be honest with you, with IATF 16949 in our 16 different manufacturing sites allocated. And finally, when we say we are not seeing ourselves just as a chemical supplier or a manufacturer, is that we have seen that it is a very complex effort or very complex process, which is affected by many parameters. One big part of our business is actually finding out chemical solutions, but also helping out on the field our customers with our technical expertise. So rather than a chemical manufacturer or supplier, we think of ourselves as a solution partner that can help you out or help you or support you wherever you are in the world by using our expert laboratories, which are equipped with advanced surface characterization, but also day-to-day analysis like etching rate, light fastness, or macro testing. So before we close, I would like to take 2 minutes of our time because we are a very technically driven company. I would like to talk about very briefly about a couple of products or projects that we have in the pipeline from our R&D, starting with alkaline resistant sealing, which will also be presented during our webinars by Ms. Afsin. Continued with a liquid version of our acid etch process, which is in laboratory development phase. Moving on with nickel-free cold sealing. Currently, we are delayed a little due to COVID, but we are at customer trial phase. Continuing on, which will be maybe starting next year, our new series of webinars is a fluoride-free powder coating pre-treatment, where the fluorides are a source of a larger carbon footprint and pollution, not necessarily for the operation of painting, but their production is problematic. And then low caustic soda etching, and finally, which we are rolling out currently, the process that we have also patented for processing cast aluminum alloys, which are also important or interesting for the use of secondary aluminum, which will be partially touched base upon with Mr. Olsen during his webinar series. Before we finish, a shout out to our marketing team. We are very active in social media. Please follow us also so that we can update you with the recent developments that we have in our product portfolio, and also news about new regulations, and also news about new developments in terms of newer technologies. Well, thank you for listening to me, and it has been my pleasure, although we cannot be in the same room, which makes even more fun, but at least we could keep the contact in this way. Now I'm handing over back to Per with more questions and other supplementaries that you would need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, for this very nice presentation. And I was thinking of one thing, is that just for your information, also on the toolbar to the right-hand side, there is a sheet called handouts where you can submit. There is the invitation to the second part of this webinar series. You can already now subscribe to that. We do have some questions coming in that maybe we can try to answer. You already were a little bit into it during the presentation, but maybe you can highlight a little bit on this subject. Do you have a specific bismuthing for high silica contents?
Yes. The 409 and 411 are two examples, but they are possible to use up to maybe 5% silicon content. Anything above is actually requires more extensive need. That means The most important part is that we have diversified our portfolio with Castelox names, where we are using more expensive or complex chemistries for 7%, 10%, and 12% containing alloys. And even we have some products that are specifically designed for even 3D part or powder metallurgy, which contains about 40% silicon.
Okay, thank you. Next question is referring to additives for anodizing. I know that we had some months ago a specific webinar around that topic, and you also answered some of the questions, but maybe you can highlight a little bit more in detail. What is the difference of Alumar Elox 557 compared to traditional based on, for example, oxalic acid? And is the Elox 557 approved by qualicode?
Well, unfortunately, I can see why this question is asked, because during our last webinar we were saying that we are only a couple of months away from the approval, but unfortunately, due to COVID, the free weathering test results are delayed. Secondly, the difference between 557 to oxalic acid is only one type of organic acid that helps out with the process for a certain amount of time, meaning especially at the start of the process, by lowering the aggressivity of sulfuric acid. But in order to maintain the productivity and also the broader parameter window during analyzing, one could be able to introduce more. Therefore, the 557 is actually a blend of several organic acids with different carbon chain lengths. Therefore, it helps out each component at a different stage of various processes, like the start of the ramping of the anodizing phase, whereas the ending you would need a longer carbon chain, etc., etc. Therefore, it's a well-balanced, adjusted mix of products that would help your anodizing out at the right stage.
Okay, thanks a lot. Something about bare corrosion performance. We know that the traditional hex chrome chromating is, of course, something that is part of the reach and the authorization processes, etc. So we think that we believe that this will at some point in time and has its end life, at least in the European premises. We know that we have, for example, trivalent chromium passivates also in the portfolio. But how does the total chrome-free products work? Do they work as standalone corrosion performance, or is it only for achieving a bond between aluminum and a powder, for example? That is also one question.
Yes, obviously the chrome-free alternatives, they provide, especially with alloys, more pure alloys like 6000 series, a extended corrosion life in terms of bare corrosion. But we are also using our chrome-free alternatives for bare corrosion resistance. But the major difference is, without any, like we're using with lanthane, any post-dip that provides an additional layer of organic top coat on it, the bare corrosion resistance that is provided with our chrome-free are in the range of 72 hours to maybe 120 at best. But again, specifically designed, we prefer to use, if the corrosion requirements, bare corrosion requirements, exceed 48 hours, we prefer to use the lanthane, which is the chrome-free version of of these conversion coatings that provide excellent barrier corrosion resistance.
Thank you. I think if that question was maybe a little bit on the hypothetical side, there also have one very direct question is that some of my customers also treat zinc parts in aluminium diox before painting. Do you know what is the tolerance of dissolved zinc in, for example, aluminium diox 404, for example?
Well, that's something that we will need to check, because generally speaking, the zinc concentration up to maybe 0.5 to 1 gram would start problems. But generally speaking, the diox, especially when we're comparing our zinc containing parts, are not as aggressive on those parts. So therefore, the general principle that we do have with our customers, because they're etching the surface much less and just removing the inherent oxide that is on the surface, and in order to get prior to the powder coating, the zinc, dissolved zinc, does not exponentially increase like aluminum does, where at least 1 or 2 grams per square decimeter is needed as an etch.
Okay, then there was also a more general question about qualicode approvals. Do we have a full range of qualicode approvals in some of the areas, or is it some specific products you can mention?
Well, the qualicode and qualicode are more approving the applicator rather than the chemistries, but in all areas like the medium temperature, organic medium temperature sealing, or the chrome-free coatings, the 701 and 703, or the ELOX 557 to be used for anodizing, we have chemistries that are approved by qualinode and also qualicode, which are renewed every year. So therefore, one would find all their needs in our portfolio regarding these chemistries, that given that they are a qualinode or qualicode approved applicator.
Thank you very much, John. I think that was towards the end of the question session. So I think by that we can conclude this webinar, and we hope to see you again on the next one, which is on the 12th of May. So thanks everybody for attending and listening, and thank you, John, for presenting.
No problem, my pleasure. And as we discussed before, please be careful, stay healthy, and stay tuned with our next webinar.
We will do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.